This story comes from a woman named Elise Morgan, who was 28 years old and living alone in a duplex in Nashville, Tennessee. It was 2017, and she had just gone through a breakup, so she was renting a quiet place to clear her head. Small, nothing special, but private. Or so she thought. In the first 2 months, everything felt fine. Elise was a night owl, working remotely as a graphic designer, so her sleep schedule was upside down. She liked the quiet. She liked the stillness. That stillness wouldn't last. It started small, subtle. At first, it was just things being out of place. A cabinet left open, a spoon in the sink she didn't remember using, her keys being moved to the wrong hook. Things that made her pause but not panic. Then came the scratching. At first, it sounded like mice. Light scraping above the ceiling tiles in the kitchen. Then behind the drywall. A little too loud for rodents. She called pest control. They found nothing. Said it was probably just the building settling. But it kept happening. And one night around 3 a.m., it got worse. She was on the couch, half asleep, when she heard a thud. Not outside. Not next door. From the ceiling. She stood up, heart racing, and slowly walked to the kitchen. The ceiling panel near the pantry was slightly ajar, maybe an inch. Just enough to notice if you were looking. She wasn't sure if it had always been like that. The next morning, she called the property manager. They told her the crawl space above the kitchen was just for insulation and wiring, nothing that should ever be accessed. Elise asked if someone had been up there recently. They said no. A few days later, she installed a small motion-activated camera on top of the fridge, aimed at the ceiling panel, just in case. That night, at 2:41 a.m., it caught something. The video was short, about 8 seconds, but what it showed made her blood run cold. The panel in the ceiling shifted, slowly. Then, from the darkness, a hand appeared. Thin, pale, trembling. It pressed gently against the panel edge, then vanished. She went straight to the police. They reviewed the footage and told her it was inconclusive. They couldn't prove anyone was up there. No prints, no signs of forced entry, and crucially, no visible face. Elise begged them to search the crawlspace. They did. Sort of. An officer opened the panel, poked a flashlight around, and declared it empty. He said, probably just a raccoon, and left. But Elise knew what she saw. That night, she didn't sleep. She sat on the couch with her phone in one hand and a kitchen knife in the other. At 3:19 a.m., the panel opened again. This time, fully. Elise ran. She drove barefoot to a friend's apartment and didn't return until daylight. When she came back, accompanied by her friend, the panel was shut again. Nothing out of place. But the camera? Missing. The police returned, this time with more interest. They finally removed the ceiling panel and crawled through with flashlights. In the far corner, they found a mattress pad, empty food wrappers, and a journal. It had a name inside. A man who had been reported missing in 2015, mentally unstable, believed to be living off-grid. The crawlspace had been lived in. For how long, they didn't know. Elise moved out the next day. The man was never found. Police never charged anyone. They claimed it wasn't criminal trespassing because no breaking and entering had occurred, and he hadn't harmed her. But for weeks after, Elise would wake up in the middle of the night with one thought. What if he had come down just one night sooner? This story was shared anonymously by a man who was 19 at the time. It happened in 2011, during his freshman year of college, in a mid-sized town in Ohio. He had just moved into a small apartment above a closed-down bookstore. It was cheap, a little dusty, and absolutely perfect for someone living on a student budget. The landlord said no one had lived in the unit for over a year. He liked the quiet. No roommates, no neighbors, just himself, his classes, and the occasional late-night gaming session. But things didn't stay quiet for long. The first sign that something was wrong came on a Tuesday night. He woke up at 3:17 a.m., not from a noise, but from a feeling. He described it like this. It felt like someone was standing over me, watching. He checked the room. Locked door. Window closed. No one there. He shook it off. A weird dream, maybe. Stress. But then it happened again. And again. At exactly 3:17 a.m. By the fourth night, he left his phone recording audio. He wanted to prove to himself that nothing was happening. But when he played it back the next morning, he heard something. A voice. Whispering. Soft, childlike. I'm not tired. I like your room. The voice faded out after less than 10 seconds. He thought maybe someone was messing with him. Maybe a friend sneaking in. Though how, he didn't know. He changed his locks the same day. The next night, he left the recorder running again. At 3:17 a.m., the voice returned. You look different when you sleep. That's when he called the police. They came by, took a statement, looked around, found nothing. Told him it was probably a prank or an app glitch. He asked if they could check the building. The landlord let them in. No one had keys except him. There was no attic access. The basement, used for storage, was locked. Still, the voice came back. Always at 3:17. Always whispering. He stopped sleeping. Started keeping a knife on the nightstand. And then, on the 10th night, he saw her. He woke up to a cold draft. His bedroom door, which he always kept shut, was wide open. Standing in the doorway was a girl. Pale. Thin. Maybe 9 or 10 years old. Wearing what looked like a faded nightgown. He couldn't move. Couldn't speak. She just stood there, watching him. Then she turned and walked down the hall, not out of the apartment, but into the bathroom. He finally found the strength to get up and follow. The bathroom was empty. He turned on the lights. Nothing. No footprints, no open windows. But the mirror was fogged up, as if someone had just taken a shower. And on the mirror, drawn in the condensation, were 2 words. Hi again. He didn't sleep that night. Didn't sleep for 3 more after. He emailed his landlord, demanded to know if anything had happened in the apartment before. No response. He went to the library and dug into property records. What he found chilled him. In 1993, a girl named Ava Reynolds had died in that building, accidentally locked in the basement when the bookstore caught fire. Her body was never recovered. The next morning, he visited the police station again. This time, he brought audio clips and mirror photos. They listened. They looked. Then one officer said something that made it worse. I've heard that voice before. We've gotten similar reports over the years. Always a girl. Always between 3 and 4 a.m. No forced entry. No suspects. When he asked what to do, the officer said this: "If she wants attention, she'll get bolder. The best you can do is leave." So he did. He packed everything that night, called a friend, and moved out within 48 hours. He never heard from the landlord again. But once, about a year later, while scrolling Reddit, he saw a post in the paranormal forum. A new tenant had moved into an apartment above an old bookstore. Their post title read, "Who is the little girl that keeps whispering at 3 a.m.?" In 2005, a married couple, Joel and Renee Walker, bought an old fixer-upper property just outside Asheville, North Carolina. It was a 2-story colonial on 4 acres of land, surrounded by forest and mostly forgotten by time. The house had been on the market for years. Cheap, isolated, plenty of potential. They were the only bidders. The house was called Briar Hollow, named after the dense thickets behind it. The seller disclosed the usual: outdated plumbing, roof repairs needed, minor structural quirks, but nothing out of the ordinary, except for one room. A single door on the second floor, padlocked from the outside. The seller claimed it was just storage, and that the key had been lost decades ago. Joel, who was handy with tools, said they'd open it once they were settled. But over the first few weeks, things in the house didn't feel right. Not dangerous, just wrong. They heard movement upstairs when no one was up there. Lights flickered, always around the same hallway. The air near that locked door was cold, no matter how high the thermostat was set. And then came the sounds. Every night, at exactly 1:11 a.m., a dull thud, like something heavy dropping on the other side of the locked room. Every night. Same time. Same noise. Joel eventually broke down the padlock. He filmed it, thinking he'd show friends the creepy reveal. But what they found wasn't just strange, it was disturbing. The room was perfectly clean. No dust. No cobwebs. Fresh wood smell. Inside, just one item. A child-sized rocking chair, sitting in the middle of the floor, facing the corner. Nothing else. No windows. No vents, just thick walls and that one chair. Joel felt uneasy. Renee started crying without knowing why. They left the room, closed the door, and didn't speak about it again for days. But now that the door was open, the house felt different. At night, the chair creaked slowly, back and forth, even when no one was near it. Footsteps echoed across the upstairs floor at random hours, and sometimes they'd wake to find the bedroom door wide open. When they'd locked it before bed, they contacted police after a particularly bad night. Renee had woken screaming, claiming she saw a small figure, child-sized, standing at the foot of their bed. Joel grabbed a bat and searched the house. Nothing. The officer who arrived listened patiently, then said something they didn't expect. "Is it the locked room?" They froze. He went on. "We've had a few calls from this address over the years, always after someone opens that room, but there's never any sign of break-ins. No fingerprints. Nothing actionable." Joel asked what they were supposed to do. The officer just said, "Most people move." Not long after that, they installed a motion camera outside the locked room, just to see. The first night, nothing. The second night, something. At 1:11 a.m., the footage showed the door creak open slightly and the rocking chair move. Slowly, backward, then forward. No wind, no wires. Then came the whisper, "Come sit." Clear as day. Joel emailed the footage to local police. Their response, no proof of a crime. Renee had a panic attack the next night. She said she saw the chair rocking on its own, and in the corner, just beyond the chair, a figure crouched, whispering to itself. She refused to spend another night in the house. They left Briar Hollow the following week, moved into a one-bedroom condo in town. Quiet, plain, no history. They never returned to collect their things. The last message Joel received was from the new owners, months later. "Hey, out of curiosity, what's the story with the second floor? Something weird with the door." He never replied, but he did send them the footage. The clip ends with the chair rocking. Then the camera tilts slightly, like it's being moved by a small hand. And from the edge of the frame, a voice, "You're not supposed to watch."